You may not be afraid of commitment. You may be afraid of becoming easy to read by people who turn familiarity into leverage. So the distance is not random. It may be your nervous system protecting you from the moment access starts feeling expensive. Most people call this fear of closeness. They see hesitation, second-guessing, the urge to keep one foot outside the door, and they assume you cannot settle. That reading makes sense. Self-protection can look a lot like ambivalence. Then shame gets layered on top. You start asking why you can be warm, devoted, even deeply attached, and still tense up when things become steady. The common frame misses one detail. Predictability only feels safe when access has been handled with care. Research on attachment system regulation helps here. When closeness has repeatedly involved intrusion, criticism, or subtle extraction, the body can encode consistency as risk. Alan Shore and Peter Fonagy both point toward early relational experiences shaping how safety and intimacy get organized internally. Polyvagal theory, associated with Stephen Porges, offers another angle. If your system learned that being open often led to pressure or emotional labor, cues of increasing closeness can shift you out of ease. Your body may mobilize before your mind has words. Elaine Aron's work on high-sensitivity processing matters too. If you notice tone, shifts, and unspoken expectations quickly, you also notice when someone is learning your map. Your feeling is real. Your first interpretation might not be. The fear may be misuse, not commitment itself. The pattern often begins with this equation. If someone knows your habits, needs, soft spots, and repair style, they gain influence. That influence might once have been used to guilt you, corner you, demand more, or make your reactions seem unreasonable. So you learn to stay partly unpatterned. You vary how available you are. You keep some thoughts unspoken. You delay clear commitment, even when you care. In a very real way, unpredictability can become a boundary when direct boundaries were not respected. This is also why intense beginnings can feel easier than stable middles. Early chemistry carries mystery. Limerence can protect you from being truly known because projection fills the gaps. Consistency removes that haze. Then the old question returns. What happens when they learn the real map? Interoception plays a role here. Your body notices tiny shifts before your story catches up. A regular text cadence, a shared routine, a person finishing your sentences. None of that is inherently harmful. But if familiarity once preceded control, your chest may tighten anyway. At work, this can look like excelling in new roles, then feeling trapped once people rely on you in predictable ways. You may dread becoming the one who always fixes the mess, covers the gap, remembers everything, absorbs the mood, and never gets to go off duty. You might feel close after a vulnerable conversation, then pull back the next day once the bond feels real. It is not always because the feeling disappeared. Sometimes your system is reacting to the possibility that your openness just created a route into you. With family, this can show up as limiting updates about your life. You may know from experience that once people know your schedule, finances, health, or hope, the comments begin. Advice slips into pressure. Concern slips into entitlement. Access starts behaving like ownership. In friendships, you may be the easy one to call, the one who understands, the one who says yes. Then resentment appears almost silently. You are not confused about caring. You are tired of being predictable in ways that make other people comfortable and leave you overexposed. A gentler reframe is this. You may be guarding against enmeshment, obligation, and interpretive control. That lowers shame because it names an adaptive pattern. Name the pattern. Lower the shame. The issue may be who gets access, under what conditions, and with what accountability. One practice for this week is to replace the question, "Why am I scared of commitment?" with a more precise one. What changes in my body when someone becomes familiar with me? Write down the exact moment the tension starts. Precision creates options. A second practice is body first. When you notice the urge to disappear, lengthen your exhale for 1 minute and feel your feet press into the floor. Then ask, am I unsafe or am I becoming legible? Regulate first, interpret second, decide third. What years with this pattern have taught me is that many sensitive, high-functioning people are excellent at intimacy in short bursts. They can read nuance, offer care, and create trust quickly. The harder part is surviving repeated contact without feeling slowly occupied.
A lot of people carrying this pattern were praised for being easy. Easy to talk to, easy to lean on, easy to read. So they became privately protective of any part of themselves that still felt unclaimed. Distance started acting like stewardship. You can see this in how someone shares. They may disclose something tender, then immediately minimize it, make a joke, change the subject, or disappear for a day. The nervous system is testing. Or was it logged for future use? The fawn response can weave through this too. If keeping connection once required anticipation, smoothing, and self-erasure, commitment can feel like entering a role with no exit. The problem is not devotion. It is the fear of being cast again as the emotional manager. Sometimes the inner critic makes the whole thing harder by calling you inconsistent, selfish, or impossible to love. Right. But self-attack usually blurs information. A more useful question is whether your withdrawal happened after genuine rupture, or after ordinary closeness started feeling trackable. I have also noticed that people with this pattern often crave reliability more than most. They want steadiness. They want warmth that lasts. They just do not want reliability to become surveillance. That distinction gets missed all the time. Especially by people who benefit from blurred boundaries. You may recognize this around texting. When someone begins expecting immediate replies, your body may rebel, even if you like them. The issue may be less about contact and more about the speed with which a simple ritual starts carrying obligation, interpretation, and emotional bookkeeping. Sleep can show you the same pattern. Everything seems fine during the day. Then at night, your mind replays what you revealed, what they inferred, and what they might now expect. The default mode network gets busy when the room gets quiet and unfinished social risk rises. Another thing, people who misuse access often call your caution distance, secrecy, or fear. That wording can trap you into proving trust by overriding your own signals. Slow trust is not dysfunction. Sometimes it is the first honest pace your body has ever been allowed. Healing often looks less like forcing commitment and more like building selective transparency. You share one layer, you watch what happens, you notice whether your no is respected, whether your pace is honored, whether your softness stays yours after being seen. You also learn that predictability can exist in values instead of constant availability. You can be consistent in kindness, clear in communication, and steady in care without handing over unrestricted access. Healthy closeness does not require permanent openness or immediate interpretability. For some people, the turning point is grieving how often their usefulness was mistaken for intimacy. Being needed can resemble being loved for a while. Then the body notices the difference. One leaves you connected. The other leaves you depleted, watched, and oddly alone. So if commitment keeps feeling heavy, your system may be asking a smarter question than you realized. It may be asking whether this bond will protect your interior life or consume it. Take a breath, name the pattern, and I'll see you in the next one. Which one of these landed too close to home? Be specific.